So, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is aimed at trying to analyze how to read the statements of Donald Trump and to answer the question that so many people are asking tonight to me, can you trust Donald Trump? Okay. So, my first statement on that is that Donald Trump says that he is using trade for diplomacy. This is what he says everywhere. This is the biggest statement he keeps making everywhere, and he thinks this shows him as a sharp businessman. It's part of his overall positioning as a sharp businessman who brings in the business dimension to global politics and diplomacy. And these are the kind of claims that he has made. However, what is the fact? The fact is that is not true. He is not using trade for diplomacy. He is trading diplomacy for trade. This is the fact. And this podcast is aimed at making it clear that Donald Trump is using diplomacy for trade, not trade for diplomacy. By the end of this podcast, you will understand why I'm saying so. So let me take you back after Pahalgam. Donald Trump was one of the first leaders to call Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi came back from Saudi Arabia when the Pahalgam terror attack took place. And the White House announced that Trump had put in a request to talk to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The visit to Saudi Arabia was called off. And after the call, Trump, quote unquote, expressed full support to India to bring justice to the perpetrators of this heinous attack.
The United States stands with India, strongly condemns all acts of terrorism. We pray for the lives of those lost and for the recovery of the injured, and call for the perpetrators of this heinous act to be brought to justice.
And then on the 9th of May, J.D. Vance, his vice president, said, this is none of our business. We can try and de-escalate a bit, but we are not going to get involved in the middle of a war that is fundamentally none of our business. This itself is proof that the claim of Donald Trump, that he has what he's done is led to a de-escalation or to a ceasefire, is complete rubbish, because that cannot happen overnight. When his own administration officials, his vice president, his secretary of state have denied any involvement in this. Then the question happens, why is he changing his line? He's constantly changing his line. Over the last couple of days, 2 to 3 days, he's constantly been first saying this. He says, I'm the one who made it happen. I'm the peacemaker. I'm the person who led to the ceasefire. This was his original statement.
My administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons.
And then he changes his line and he comes up with a new line which came up on 15th, where he says, addressing some US troops, he says, I'm not claiming I did it, but I had some role.
I don't want to say I did, but I sure as hell helped settle the problem between Pakistan and India last week, which was getting more and more hostile. And all of a sudden you'll start seeing missiles of a different type. And we got it settled out.
So that's a complete sea change from being, this peacemaker who claims that I made India and Pakistan agree to a ceasefire, to saying, I'm not saying I did it, but I may have played some kind of a role. I may have nudged things a little bit. These are two completely different approaches, ladies and gentlemen. And it could happen because India is calling up and using the back channels to tell the Americans that we are angry, that we are upset with the line that he's taking. But there is a completely different story in this. I feel, as I said, that Donald Trump trades diplomacy for trade. And eventually he's going to harm the geostrategic interests of the United States of America by doing so, because he's so desperate to resurrect the American economy that he'll do business with anyone. On his visit to Saudi Arabia, he's also met the interim leader of Syria, and he's lifted sanctions on Syria. And why is he doing so? He's doing so because you have the national debt of the US, which is exploding. The national debt of the US has exploded to 34 trillion. as of May. He needs every single dollar coming in. That's a rise of 17 trillion since the pandemic alone. Experts are warning the US that it is heading for a huge debt crisis. This is what Saudi Arabia understands. So behind all the red carpets and the the polite conversation, the reality is Donald Trump just is desperate to do a business deal with everyone, and he's trying to tell to the world through his statements in Saudi Arabia, do business deals with me, I will not disturb you. Do business deals with me, I will not disturb you. Do business deals with me, I'll compromise on anything else. Just look at the kind of words that he's using. So if Donald Trump's approach is, I want the business deal at any cost, I want a business deal at any cost, then is it not possible, ladies and gentlemen, that he could do the same thing with China? And that's the angle that I'm bringing before you today. You see, the White House on Sunday said that the United States and China have reached some kind of an interim trade deal in Geneva. They had 2 days of talks between China and the United States.
I'm happy to report that we've made substantial progress between the United States and China in these very important trade talks.
So there are 2 different events happening. You may think they are not connected. The US Trade Representative, Ambassador Jamieson Greer, says both nations are quickly able to come to an agreement.
And this was, as the Secretary pointed out, a very constructive 2 days. It's important to understand how quickly we were able to come to agreement, which reflects that perhaps the differences were not so large as maybe thought. That being said, there was a lot of groundwork that went into these 2 days. Just remember why we're here in the first place is the United States has a massive $1.2 trillion trade deficit. So the president declared a national emergency and imposed tariffs. And we're confident that the deal we struck with our Chinese partners will help us to work toward resolving that national emergency.
But an agreement on the basis of what? Is it possible that the Chinese have used their leverage over America to say, change your position vis-a-vis India and Pakistan? Show the hyphenation of the relationship. Balance things out. Don't be on India's side. Now you may say, how is it possible that America will ditch India to go with China? Well, I would say that anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible in geopolitics. You see, Trump met a man who calls himself Syria's interim president, is sitting in a suit. His name is Ahmad al-Shara. He's a former leader of a very dangerous terrorist group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. He's killed thousands of people, and he had a $10 million bounty from the United States of America. Trump, in order to placate and please the Chinese, the Saudis, has agreed to do business with this ex-terrorist. And he gave a soundbite later saying that he's a good guy. He's a young, attractive, tough guy. Can you imagine? This is his description of a terrorist. Listen to this.
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy.
So if this is the level of U-turn that Trump can do, because he is in a real hurry. You see, viewers, he's promised MAGA to the people of the United States of America. I'm going to make America great again. He will stop at nothing to come close to his goal. We have got to watch out what the red lines for us are. And the red lines for us have been crossed this time.
And by the way, I don't want to say I did, but I sure as hell helped settle the problem between Pakistan and India last week, which was getting more and more hostile. And all of a sudden you'll start seeing missiles of a different type.
We may or may not accept it, but the fact is that Trump has crossed the red lines. My analysis of the situation is that Trump is not a long-term thinker. He's not looking at long-term India as an economic threat, but there are enough people in the United States of America who would understand that if you're the 4th largest economy now, surpassing Japan, if you're between 4 and 5 trillion, if you're growing between 6 and 8%, you're outpacing all your global counterparts, and India is a real threat. Is Donald Trump looking at things that way? No. Donald Trump, in my view, has a short attention span. But there are people in America who will egg on Donald Trump to take a position that is anti-India and tell him or use him or tell his administration that here is a country who is going to be your long-term competitor. And that explains Donald Trump's very aggressive comment to Apple's Tim Cook when he said, I've told Tim Cook, don't produce your phones in India.
We have Apple, as you know, it's coming in. And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I've treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India.
You see, viewers, if Donald Trump was diplomatic, he wouldn't have said so. But he cannot keep any information with himself. If you are telling the Apple CEO not to produce phones in India, then you would do that on the back channel. You would see things done. By the way, Apple has not issued any statement that it is going to pull back from its operations or promised trade or business or production of goods in India. They already produce billions of dollars worth of iPhones. But the point is, by making that statement, again, Donald Trump is placating his local audience, saying, see, I am even going against India to protect you. I am making Apple come to you. The fact is, Apple is not going to come more to America, but he's into positioning himself. In my view, all of this shows a fair amount of pressure on Donald Trump. And I think that pressure is only going to grow. How should we respond? Here's my suggestion. We should put more pressure on a man who is under pressure himself. His out-of-turn tweet, when he announced the ceasefire, is a reflection of that pressure. He's not been very successful between Ukraine and Russia. He's not achieved success and promised a lot as far as Gaza is concerned. He needs a quick victory. Do we give him a quick victory? I think we shouldn't. I think we should make the discussions on trade very protracted, very long, and very much placed in India's national interest. We should not give away anything. The kind of statements he's made of late, I have brought India to a basically zero tariff situation like this.
It's very hard to sell into India. And they've offered us a deal where basically they're willing to literally charge us no tariff. So we go from the highest tariff, you couldn't do business in India, we're not even a top 30 in India because the tariff is so high, to a point where they have actually told us, I assume you too, Scott, you were working on that also, that there will be no tariff, right? Would you say that's a difference? They're the highest, and now they're saying no tariff.
These kind of statements of Donald Trump now need to start getting countered more aggressively here. Because it's going to be a tough summer. It's going to be a long winter. The broad thing is we are becoming a global power. As we become a global power, we have to defend our geostrategic interests. We can't become part of a bloc. The only bloc that we are in right now is the Bharat bloc. And therefore, while we must not trust Donald Trump, we must analyze him, psychoanalyze him, and use his weaknesses for our benefit. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I'll bring you many more. If you like my explanatory podcasts, if you think they are too complicated, tell me. If you think that I'm able to connect the dots and make it simpler for you to understand, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching this.